What's up, guys? Puya here, and today I just wanted to release a quick little video. I just wanted to talk a little bit about Chelsea because I think, you know, over the past couple of seasons, 1 or 2 seasons, Chelsea has definitely been a club that people like to banter on. They've been a banter club, and rightfully so. The actions, the sales, the whole club situation after the Ukraine-Russia thing, it's been easy to crap on Chelsea. However, if you think about it, Chelsea in 2024 have been a very good and consistent team. Chelsea in 2024 went on a massive winning streak under Mauricio Pochettino last season and ended up finishing sixth place in the Premier League. Chelsea this season, I feel like they're getting overly judged based on their first game against Man City. It's the first game against Man City. Any team is going to struggle. And I feel like after that first game in the Premier League, they got judged a lot. Also, their transfer business with the Bowley Group and all those guys, these Americans, buying all these young players, loaning them, people we've never heard about. Fabrizio Romano, here we go. Bart Simpson signed to Chelsea on a 9-year deal. So it's been easy to clown on Chelsea, but I really do think at this point Chelsea is overhated. This early in the season, Chelsea is being overhated, maybe even a little underrated, and I actually think Chelsea will have a good season. Now, what constitutes a good season for Chelsea? Because it's all depends on context. Because a good season for Man City may not be the same as a good season for Chelsea. A good season for Man City might be a great season for Chelsea at this point. You know what I mean? A bad season for Man City would maybe be a good season for Chelsea at this point. So what's the context here? What's a good season, in my opinion, for Chelsea? For me, a good season for Chelsea is making it into the Champions League and getting a trophy. Now, the three probable sources for Chelsea to get a trophy this season is the Conference League, FA Cup, and the Chimichanga Cup. Okay, now the issue with the Chimichanga Cup is I don't think that's a valid trophy. I think it's a tin pot party FC. It's a bullshit trophy. It's a sponsorship cup, and I don't think Premier League teams should bother with that. I think the Chimichanga Cup should be only played by non-league teams, fourth tier, fifth tier, League Two teams, in my opinion. That is a nothing trophy. It's worth nothing. It's worthless. It doesn't mean anything. So for me, two legitimate trophies to win for Chelsea this year: the Conference League and FA Cup. And if they win one of those, and if they get a Champions League place, that's a very good season for Chelsea. I would even go as far as to say if Chelsea only make the Champions League and they're back in Champions League football next season and they don't win any trophies, that's a big step in the right direction. That's a big step in the right direction because although Mauricio Pochettino got sacked at the end of last season, he got them to sixth. He showed that even with guys and bums like Nicholas Jackson and Madueke and Mudryk, he was able to take this young group, go on a massive winning streak and unbeaten streak in the Premier League last season, scoring a bunch of goals and getting to sixth place, even though the rest of their season, the first half of their season, was crap, mid-table. He was able to get this young group to sixth place. So the potential is there. Now with Maresca in, people said, why are they hiring a guy from Leicester City? Yes, he won the championship with Leicester City, but the championship is much different from the Premier League. And I agree. And they're calling him, B-Tech Pep Guardiola. They're calling him Pepsi. They're calling him Pepsi. There's Pep Guardiola and then there's Pepsi. That's what they're calling Enzo Maresca. And the issue is, I think he got way too much hate for you guys, anything that happens in preseason, I don't care. I don't care what happens in preseason. And I understand Chelsea had a bad preseason. I don't even think they won a game in preseason, or they were getting smashed 3-1, 4-1 every game in preseason. And they come. Now, for me, people were hating on Chelsea already. For me, I don't care about preseason. I was like, okay, let me see match day 1 in the Premier League. And I didn't realize it's against Man City. And so even in the Man City game, I wasn't going to judge them too hard. But a lot of people judged them. They saw that they couldn't get like a shot on target. Nico Jackson was missing easy chances, whatever. And Haaland, bodied their defense and scored a goal. So Man City didn't even have to get out of third gear to beat Chelsea. But is that really how much does that tell you about Chelsea? Because Man City beats every team in the Premier League, can beat any team in the Premier League without getting into second gear outside of maybe Liverpool and Arsenal. They could beat every team in the Premier League without trying. So a lot of people piled on Chelsea sucks. Look at all the transfers. Ha ha ha. Their team is trash. They're not going to get, they're going to get mid-table again. And I said, sit back and wait, because Maresca has a plan for these players. I do think, it's a much different style of football to Mauricio Pochettino's, but it's a style that will bring in control for Chelsea and improve them. And they have the players to do so. And what happens? I said, I was telling myself, I'm gonna wait to speak on Chelsea. Let's see what happens against Wolves. If they play crap against Wolves, now let's talk. Now let's talk about the issues, because Wolves this season I don't project to be a great team. And what happened? 6-2 happened. 6 goals against Wolves. And even Enzo Maresca, with his more reserved style of football, he was able to engineer a 6-2 win with his Chelsea team. Madueke hat-trick, Cole Palmer goal and 3 assists, hat-trick of assists. And, this is a game where a guy like Christopher Nkunku didn't start. A guy like Pedro Neto didn't start. Bums like Mudryk and Madueke started. I don't think Mudryk and Madueke should start for Chelsea. I genuinely believe Nkunku and Pedro Neto are better than those two players. They don't have another striker, so Nico Jackson has to play striker. Arguably, I think Nkunku could play striker, but whatever. This isn't a video about Chelsea's tactics and what I think their lineup should be. This is how I think Chelsea is being overhated, because people saw the transfers, all these nobodies. They saw Bart Simpson. They signed Bart Simpson on a 9-year deal. they signed the Avatar on a 10-year deal from Cambodia. They see these and they say, Chelsea banter club. And I need to talk about the transfer thing for a second, because this is one of the reasons Chelsea gets a lot of hate. They're spending 40 million and 30 million, 20 million on random youngsters, bringing a bunch of them in, and then loaning 40 of these players out. Don't be fooled. This has been Chelsea's model since Abramovich took over back then. What was it? Early 2000s, whenever Abramovich took over. This has been the model. Chelsea, for the last 25 years, have had 50 players on contract at the club and 30 of them on loan, 25 of them on loan. This has always been the Chelsea model. Don't get it too. You guys, do you remember in the 2010s, there was a guy, Marco van Ginkel. He was a midfielder from the Netherlands, and he was supposed to be this next big thing. Chelsea signed him, and I think most of his Chelsea career was out on loan. For like 7-8 years, the guy was out on loan until he finally left Chelsea. Wasted his whole time as a Chelsea loan player. This has been the Chelsea loan structure and buy structure for a while. This is nothing new. Sure, maybe they're playing a little bit more premium prices than they used to, but that's just a consequence of the inflated market right now. This has been the Chelsea structure for a couple decades now. A couple decades. And there's only one reason why people are hating on Chelsea for now, because there's a Mr. Fabrizio Romano has to tweet about every player Chelsea signed, every player Chelsea is linked to. And because we have resources like Fabrizio Romano and all these massive football publications and sources and journalists on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, whatever you use, on the internet, everywhere, we know about everything that happens at each club and which players are being signed and sold. We know about everything. So now that we know about everything and there's such transparency, now people realize, oh my God, this is Chelsea are signing so many players, but they're just loaning them out and they're spending so much money. But really, this has always been how Chelsea operates. It's always been how Chelsea operates. So that's a reason they get over. So for that reason, they're getting overhated for that? Because people didn't realize that's what Chelsea does. And they look at the first Man City game in the league and they say, Chelsea's trash. They're going to beat Man City. Really, when I look at that Man City performance, I was actually impressed by Chelsea. To only lose 2-0, sure, Man City, I felt like never got out of their first gear, but they did overall defend City well that game, and they did have a couple chances of their own. They could have easily scored a goal or two in that game if Nico Jackson had just stayed on side a couple times, or if Nkunku took one of his chances. Easily. So, overhated, 100%. And that's evidenced by this 6-2 win against Wolves the next week. So I do think Chelsea will have a good season. I think in my Premier League predictions video for the league, I think I predicted them 5th. I think I did 5th or 6th. But after seeing these performances and after seeing what Enzo Maresca plans to do in the Premier League officially, I have hopes for Chelsea that they can make a Champions League place this year, and I do think if they take the Conference League seriously, they could win a Conference League. FA Cup is a different story. We know this Chelsea team can make the final of a domestic cup, but they've had trouble winning that final. So this team can make finals. This team has the squad depth to win a Conference League. Whoops, I hit my mic. They have the squad depth to win a Conference League. And I'm sorry, I think the defense lacks for Chelsea. But I really like the midfield. I really like the attack. I think there are quality players there. I think Enzo Fernandez is hated too much. I think in a system where control needs to be established, I think Enzo Fernandez is gonna improve and he's gonna thrive under Enzo Maresca eventually. I think Caicedo's qualities will be brought to light. I think a guy like Cole Palmer is still going to be. Cole Palmer is a guy, in my opinion, that can play in any system. Cole Palmer just naturally is able to be effective on the field, getting goals and assists and creating chances. So he's always going to be great. Apparently, Chelsea's linked to Ivan Toney in these last 72 hours of the transfer window. If they get Ivan Toney and finally bench that bum Nico Jackson, now we're talking, because you have Nico Jackson and Ivan Toney as striker options. You could always play Nkunku there. Nico Jackson is a guy who everyone says is trash, and I think he's trash. I think he's trash in the sense of finishing. He's one of the worst finishers I've ever seen. The guy still got 14, 15 goals in the Premier League last season. He gets in good positions. He just misses half his chances. And Ivan Toney comes in. You have Cole Palmer behind him. You have all these wing options. You have Kieran Dewsbury Hall as a backup to Cole Palmer in the 10. You have Nkunku, Pedro Neto, João Felix just signed. João Felix is back. You have Mudryk. You have Madueke. All these guys. Tons of rotation available. So for me, Chelsea's overhated. People at this point, because they're overhated, I think they're slightly underrated. I think people will be surprised with how Chelsea developed this season. And they can expect more performances like they saw against Wolves. Maybe not 6 goals, but you could expect more control in the games and continuing to score large bunches of goals when they can. And I do expect Chelsea to either win a trophy or get back into the Champions League. So I think that would be a great season for Chelsea. I think right now a lot of people are overhating them and thus underrating them. And I think you guys calm down. Calm down, because you don't want to be caught saying crazy things and then being proven wrong come May 2025. So, guys, this has been Akage Puya. Chelsea fans, if you're watching, let me know. I think I'm pretty spot on with this. A lot of people are jumping on the Chelsea banter train without actually thinking of what's happening, without actually processing how Chelsea does business and realizing how Chelsea has always done business like this. Not realizing this squad is actually pretty good, and we shouldn't have judged them so hard in the first game of the season against freaking Manchester City, the team that will probably go on to win 5 Premier Leagues in a row after this season. Just saying. It's been Okage Puya. Like and subscribe.